The only reason Pierre Poilievre lost his riding and the only reason that the Liberals won the election is because they flooded this country with immigrants and all of those immigrants voted Liberal. And the smartest man on this app agrees with me.
Pierre Poilievre's riding, which had always been conservative and he held for 20 years, was merged with a heavy Liberal region. An area altogether that had grown by nearly 50% due to immigration. That's going to be important.
And we actually have Elections Canada data to prove this. This graph charts the change in Liberal vote share by percentage of visible minorities in a community. And look at that, it goes up right there. And then it goes down. Wait a minute. The Liberals did substantially worse in majority-minority ridings. So visible minority communities didn't vote for the Liberals, which I know isn't a one-to-one with immigrants, but, that's what you meant. Because if you can't tell, when people like this talk about immigrants, they tend to be talking about people that have a different skin tone than those of us who are more white or Mediterranean. Just a friendly reminder that whiteness is a social construct. 50 years ago when my parents were growing up, they weren't considered white, and if they were simply white passing. And just a few decades before that, Italians were not considered white. Because race, just like gender, is functionally a societal construct. All right, I got one more piece of evidence for you. Because Mario is from Halton, he grew up in Oakville, he now lives in Burlington, and this is the greatest way to showcase what was going on here. Oakville East, Oakville West, they went Liberal. Burlington, a traditionally very Anglo-Saxon area, went Liberal. Burlington North, Milton West, interesting, because both Burlington North and Milton West are a bit of a mix. There's a lot of that old school Canadian in there, but there's also a lot of people from various different backgrounds. But then we get to Milton East. Milton East was not won by the Liberals, it was won by Parm Gill, who was a conservative. And the demographics of Milton East are different from Milton West in that Milton East has closer demographics to that of Brampton, or a higher percentage of visible minorities. And listen, I'm not blaming people of color for voting for the Conservatives. I couldn't care less. That's not what this is about. I'm just trying to debunk the fact that people are blaming immigrants for voting Liberal, and that's why Pierre lost and blah, blah, blah. Dude, people just vote the way they want to vote. Like, let's take a look at Vaughan Woodbridge, for example, okay? Woodbridge is heavily Italian, okay? But most of the seniors in Woodbridge, most of the actual immigrants who traditionally do tend to vote Liberal and have, as you can see from the historical data of that riding, there's less of them now. They're getting older. But there are still a lot of second-generation Italians there. A lot of people who I grew up with. Like, I used to live in Woodbridge, right? People like me, people like my parents. And they didn't vote for the Liberals this time. I spoke to the Liberal team there. According to their data, most of the newcomers to Canada in that riding actually did vote Liberal, and it was most of the people who were born in Canada, who were second-generation Italian, who voted Conservative. So even anecdotally, this doesn't really matter. And where it did matter, it mattered at most up to 5%. Stop blaming immigrants for your problems. Some immigrants vote red, some vote blue, some can't vote at all yet, and some vote green and orange. Who cares? Who freaking cares? Stop trying to blame people for Pierre's loss. The Conservatives lost because they were not palatable to the average Canadian, even though they were able to get 40% of the vote, which is incredible. There was enough people all over the country who saw Pierre and were like, oh, I'm going to vote against my own best interests. I'm not going to vote for the Bloc. I'm not going to vote for the Greens. I'm not going to vote for the NDP. I have to vote for the Liberals because we cannot let Pierre win. That's why Bruce Fanjoy was able to kick his ass in Carleton, and that's why he lost the election. But sure, go blame immigrants. That's a winning strategy. I am sure it'll help you guys win the next federal election. This was part 2 of me debunking Mario's video. If you want to go see part 1, it'll be the video that's posted before this. If you want to see more, hit the like and follow button and join me on this crazy ride.